What's up, Fundrise fans? Here we are. I didn't want to do this. This was never my plan. I didn't want to be the moderator of a sub. Shout out to Reddit FundriseInvestors. But I am. This is a Fundrise fam coming at you. You know, when I first started supporting Fundrise online, my avatar was the Fundrise logo. My name wasn't out there. My name's Vincenzo. And the more I supported, the more I could tell that people thought I worked for the company, or they were just trying to figure out what was my angle, where was it coming from, because there was no transparency. Couldn't see my face, couldn't see my name. Now, fast forward a couple of years, against my better judgment, almost anybody can find me. And why do that? Because transparency matters. I've learned this. I'm on this journey that started for me, I want to say, around the start of COVID, when Wall Street bets became a part of our zeitgeist. And then Roaring Kitty, and then DFV, and then Keith Gill. I was in a relatively major transitional phase of my life then. Retiring from the Navy, being retired from the Navy wasn't my decision, but just reached higher tenure, you know, and so it forces you to go through a transition. It's a major transition. It's the only profession I'd ever had at the time. It was a big part of my identity, and I didn't realize it being in the military, because you're part of a culture, a pretty consistent culture for a couple of decades, and whether or not you know it, it shapes you, it forms you. How can it not? Anyway, that was coming to an end. So I had some other pretty major transitions going on at the same time that I won't get into, but how am I going to make money? I've always been relatively conservative with money and investment oriented, but it had never been my primary focus. It certainly is now. So that captured my attention. Keith Gill captured my attention. What the hell is going on with Wall Street bets? I created a Reddit account just to follow, and man, was Wall Street bets just a madhouse. And was highly entertained, completely confused, didn't know what the hell was going on. I couldn't even figure out how to post to Reddit, because they just don't let you, as you know, when you have a new account and you don't have enough karma. And that was long before I discovered Fundrise. And here I am, years later, making a video I didn't want to make. I didn't want to be the moderator of a sub. I don't want to post content so that people can put my personal life under a magnifying glass. And I'm a fan. What is that short for? Fanatic. I'm a Fundrise fanatic, fam. So here I am. Where's the Keith Gill of Fundrise? It ain't me, but he hasn't showed up yet, so that I can sit back and just watch and take my name off my account and take my face off my account, so I can just be a spectator. Where's my Joseph Carlson of Fundrise? I don't know if you guys know who that is, but in that transitional period where I was looking for investment wisdom, I discovered people on YouTube. Most of them have come and gone, but I'm still with Joseph Carlson because his investing style has really stuck with me. Transparency has stuck with me, and it's sort of informed my investing philosophy. So here I am making a video, very unpolished. I decided I was going to do this 15, 20 minutes ago. I've been thinking about it for a long time. It's been bouncing around my head for maybe a year. Who knows? I remember when I decided to make the FundriseInvestors sub because I got sick and tired of the whiners and the cynicism and the brigading by the quote-unquote Fundrise competitors, creating new fake accounts to talk smack about Fundrise. Fam, all facts are friendly, but it's not a stretch for the analogy like a sports team. When somebody comes into your home stadium to play against your team, you gonna be nice to them? You gonna root for them? Sportsmanship is encouraged, but when they break the rules, knives come out, right? And I got sick and tired of that in the sub that has 13,500 subscribers with a bunch of people. I just felt like it was disorganized and too much complaining. I was unwelcome there, you know, and I get it because I brought that Wall Street Bets culture to a non-Wall Street Bets forum. And it was off-putting, and I'm fanatical, and these are not fanatical type posters. I get it, you know. I'm a bit of a drama king, I guess. I'm dramatic, you know. I like to spice it up online. I think what is it that I put in our rules? I said, please try to be kind. Please be funny. Extra credit for both. And I've run the gamut of emotions online, from defensive and angry and chasing my tail with people I don't even know. I don't even know if they're people, to starting to kind of get to like Zen. I don't know how you do it. Zen. Because I'm starting to realize what matters. What matters is all facts are friendly. Healthy skepticism is good. Cynicism is bad. No whining. And I want a sub where it's OG Fundrise fans who attract new Fundrise fans, because the company deserves it. The organization deserves it. Should I be the champion? No. So where is the champion? Somebody to champion Fundrise. I don't mean they're not doing it. Of course they're doing it. Ben Miller's doing an amazing job. And I feel like their CFO, Allison Stalick, forgive me with the pronunciation, I think she's doing a good job. You know, my opinion is mine, and it's take it for what it's worth with a grain of salt. I'm looking for somebody who's not in the organization to champion the organization. And I don't see it. I've seen videos of loud, fast-talking nonsense. No disrespect, but that's not who I want talking about this company that I'm passionate about supporting. And so if you're out there, come on, do this so I don't have to. Or I guess I'm just going to keep doing it. Video 1, I did nothing to prepare for this. Fundrise sent me this about a year ago, I think. I don't know if they regret doing it or not, but here we are. You know, I've got an unrefined, unpolished, stumbling through the dark, trying to figure out what the hell to do, what's going to work. So I created the first time I created social media was when Wall Street's bets popped off. And then after got out of the Navy, stumbling through LinkedIn, and then, oh my God, I'm on Twitter, and then it becomes X, and then I'm on Joseph Carlson's Discord, and I get kicked out of there because they're all talking about, I get it, publicly traded companies, and here I am, I won't shut up about a private company, and everybody thinks I'm shilling. Okay, you're shilling what you support. Why don't I get to support what I want to support? And it's just different. So that took me to Reddit, and I was somewhat welcome. I'll say 10% welcome, 90% unwelcome because of my approach, which I understand, and I've had to dial it down a little bit, tighten the screws, refine it, observe, see what works, see what doesn't. Here we are, man. 10,000 posts on X. A lot of them don't have anything to do with Fundrise, but the vast majority do. 80-some Fundrise fam on Reddit FundriseInvestors. How many do I want? All of the quality Fundrise fans. That's what I want. How many is that? I don't know. I want to find like-minded people who are willing to look at the facts, be open-minded, discuss them, support, and just support, unapologetically support Fundrise, because we're on Team Fundrise. We're Fundrise fans. And that's what I want. Okay? I feel like I'm rambling. 11 minutes in, this kind of goes fast. So video 1. If there's a video 2 that leads to video 100, I assume this will get more polished. Maybe I'll get a haircut. Maybe I'll shave. Maybe I'll get my life tightened up and become a little more polished. This is what I decided to do because this doesn't come naturally to me. I'm going to read my Fundrise manifesto, which I imagine is not very entertaining, but I suppose I need sets and reps. So here we go. Let me start off with, I posted this the 9th of November 2023. According to Post Insights on Reddit, it's had 28,000 total views, 53% upvote rate, 102 comments, 177 total shares. Last time I checked, which has been a while ago because I don't go to this sub anymore, hardly, because I've got my own sub to moderate. It was the most controversial post in the sub. And here's the irony. Looking back, it's not surprising. I was going for the top post. The top post at the time, probably still is, was, if I'm not mistaken, a French guy. I got the impression he was a French guy. He owns a house in France, if I'm not mistaken, with $1 million on Fundrise. That probably is what informed me to set my 5-year goal to have $1 million on Fundrise by January of 2028. I'm 2 years into that 5-year goal. I've got less than 36 months. What are we at? 34 months and change? 34 months, 2 weeks? To get another $400,000 on Fundrise. Ben Miller and the Fundrise team can do that by getting me 2/3, 400,000 on 600,000 of returns, or I can keep contributing it. It's going to be one or the other, but probably a combination of the two. Anyway, going back to, yeah, I was trying to go for top posts. I put a lot of effort into this. I wrote a lot. I'm not a writer. If you compare me to my peer group, I'm a terrible writer, not the greatest critical thinker. I'm kind of proud of the product. I put a lot of time into it. A very good friend of mine, and other people in my life, got beat up by me asking them to proofread this and give me feedback, and I'm very thankful for what I got. I read this periodically, a couple times a year. And the reason why I'm revisiting it is because we just saw the most recent Fundrise Innovation Fund. I think it's a periodic update. We're on a kind of a weird annual cycle with the Innovation Fund, and I feel like it's just an investor update. And we got it yesterday, Valentine's Day, maybe we got it Thursday, and I've been posting it this morning, reposting it with an excerpt from this, what I'm about to read to you. Because I feel like what I wrote, it was prescient. I don't think I deserve any credit for it, but so far, 2 years, 1.5 years later, I haven't been wrong. Ben Miller and his team have proved me not wrong. So let's just jump right into it. So Q3 2023 Fundrise portfolio update. At the time, the value of my Fundrise portfolio was $469,898.66. Why do I put the number there? Transparency. You know, that's a little bit, maybe it's a little bit cringy to some of you. I don't think this is a big number. I don't think it's a small number. It's the number I had in there. I don't want to put my finances out there, but I'm following in the footsteps of what I observed from people before me. Some of them I mentioned, Joseph Carlson, Keith Gill. Build trust and transparency, that's why I do it. You see those emojis there? Sort of my signature I stumbled upon. I wrote a disclaimer there. I'm not compensated for this post by anyone, including any person or entity mentioned. I won't go through all that. I put a TFL, to something long, didn't read. I'm passionate about Fundrise and the Joseph Carlson Show. I expect to continue improving my quality of life through repeated wise financial decision making based on lessons learned from Fundrise CEO Ben Miller and Joseph Carlson. My goal for these posts is to bring more people to both Fundrise and Joseph Carlson because their high quality work deserves growing success for their separate and apart teams. I intentionally use that legalese because I feel like the bastard child from their unwed finance non-relationship. Perhaps I'm nudging the Parent Trap scenario. Trying to be funny, people. There's a link there to the Parent Trap video. Just like people before me, one thing that they seem to have in common, somebody I recently stumbled upon, and I'm in the trenches with his jail stool army, is Dave Portnoy. Keith Gill. It doesn't get any more entertaining than Keith Gill, but throughout this whole thing, I got all these links to funny or entertaining or maybe interesting videos. It was my attempt, E for effort. I aim to support Fundrise continuing to achieve scale. I shall continue following and supporting Joseph Carlson on his journey towards Joe Rogan-esque financial influencer status. Nothing is perfect. Although I sometimes critique aspects of both Fundrise and Joseph Carlson, I have the highest regard for their work. I've seen consistent improvement from both entities the entire time I've had the pleasure of using their technology and consuming their content. Some of my past critiques turned out to be ignorant inquiries on my part. Ultimately, I learned and ate crow. That's what it's all about, right? Iteration, paying attention, stumbling through the dark, trying to figure it out, learning. To the rare adults in the room, I welcome your unfiltered feedback and unvarnished truth. With sincerity and humility, I ask, where am I wrong? Greetings to all you burned witches and witch burners alike. Sending shout outs to my anonymous Reddit friend, user Intrepid Spartan, who's been a stabilizing force for good with helping me think through all things Fundrise and more. My favorite Reddit handle, user burnedwitch88, who I think he blocked me. Who's given me my opening and closing turn of phrase, and to my Reddit frenemy, user Hollywood Star, who's given me someone's nose to rub in my Fundrise success, and or someone to gloat at my Fundrise failure while he licks Cheeto dust from his fingers in his mom's basement. The frenemy blocked me on Reddit, can't imagine why, so someone else will have to send him my unconditional love. I plan to make shorter posts every quarter. This is my third. I transparently display my Fundrise portfolio. What am I up to now? I think 8 quarterly posts, 2 years of posting, starting March of 2023. I posted my Q4 24 update on the 9th or the 10th of January. And each quarter they get a little bit more refined from my perspective. A lot less verbiage than what I'm about to read here to the 1 or 2 people who actually listen to it. But the graphics get a little bit better. You get to see the evolution of how Fundrise has improved, in my opinion, how beautiful their software is, the user interface, their graphics, how they display their information, what kind of information they give to us. Background. For the rest of my life, I will be a victim of the success and the failure of my first investment. I bought about $50,000 of Netflix stock when it was a DVD in the mail company while Blockbuster was far from insolvent. I was a young professional then and didn't know what due diligence was. I merely bought stock in a service I greatly enjoyed and thought others would enjoy. At that time, I watched movies to excess, so Netflix seemed essential. Investing every dollar I had into a company I did zero research into but loved apparently was feasible for young me. Well, although I don't like to think too much about this because it's haunted me, the uncomfortable for me reality is those shares I no longer own have been worth about 20 million in recent times. Needless to say, I'm not worth 20 million. Understatement. I became paper-handed and sold at a healthy profit that later became an unrelenting FOMO nightmare, fear of missing out. YouTuber Joseph Carlson created a video about this exact scenario. Link to that video. I'm fortunate to have always lived a happy middle-class life. I'm now attempting to continue living a happy life without thinking twice about always flying first class, because why not? I don't fly first class. I'm nowhere close to achieving that goal. Much later in life, after my Netflix buy, I used the same flawed investing mentality while buying shares of another service I liked at the time, Groupon. Again, I did zero due diligence because I didn't know how. You may pour out some liqueur for all my dead homies. Oof. Today, I'm relatively financially stable with rental property. I'm in one right now, and boys, it's been a nightmare. Retirement accounts, publicly traded equities, a pension, and the Fundrise portfolio I share here. It feels as if my discretionary income is lower today than a decade ago because I now invest a larger percentage of my income. Consequently, I'm 50% Chipotle burrito by Mako. That hasn't changed. About the time of COVID's start, I brought this mindset, experience, victory, and defeat along while hunting the internet for investment wisdom. I found Justin O, Sense Invest Club, who Fundrise sponsored then, and what eventually led me to Fundrise late 2021, early 2022. I also found Everything Money, Sven Carlin Value Investing, Jimmy Learn to Invest, and Joseph Carlson Show, all on YouTube. Today, my financial information consumption is prioritized by this hierarchy. Joseph Carlson Show, Onward Podcast, which is the Fundrise podcast, or anything Fundrise CEO Ben Miller says and writes. Sven Value Investing, and do-it-yourself repairs for rental property. That's pretty much still true today, but I would replace number 1 and number 2. Sven's not on that list anymore, and unfortunately I'm still watching lots of do-it-yourself videos for repairs for rental property. Before I stumbled upon Joseph Carlson's content, I attempted learning directly from all the investing greats: Buffett, Graham, Munger, Smith, Lynch, Peter Lynch, Meet Kevin, insert laughter here, etc. I realized from consuming Joseph Carlson's content that I'm nearly playing the same investing game that Joseph's playing, which is not even close to the same game those greats were playing. Joseph's teaching style and investment methodology are relatable, transparent, understandable, and perhaps most importantly, effective. I realized Joseph was learning much better from the greats than I was, and I was learning much better from Joseph than I was from the greats. Still true to this day. Both from respect for Joseph Carlson's portfolio transparency, born from respect for Joseph's portfolio transparency, I thought I would share my Fundrise journey on Reddit. Ironically, I found this Reddit community because Joseph restricted my ability to post on his Discord in response to me writing about Fundrise, and he removed me as a follower on Twitter, Zwitter, XWITTER, a couple times, and hidden some of my tweets. Whatever, you know, I already talked about that. It's a journey, you figure it out. Social media is not like real life. Something to navigate. Joseph isn't as good a Vitruvian man, as Fundrise CEO Ben Miller is. FYI, Joseph created a terrific stock analysis tool called Qualtrim. that's included with the Patreon for only $10 a month. Still $10 a month years later, and I still feel that way. It's an amazing piece of software that just keeps getting better. It's an amazing deal. Highly recommend, because it much more than pays for itself with the wisdom learned from his Patreon only content and use of the terrific tool. With these posts, I seek to, 1, share my Fundrise journey with those considering investment with and in Fundrise, to encourage prudent diversification, and to support a company I believe in. I aim to do so, to reference Nassim Taleb's work, Anti-Fragile. I listened to the book, I think maybe half of it, 3/4 of it. I couldn't stick it out. I think the guy's an egomaniac. Is he smarter than me? Obviously. Is he more successful than me? Obviously. And it's also probably above my reading level. But a lot of other people love this book. Showing that this is where I found the quote. I don't know if he originated it. Eat my own cooking. In other words, I have observably growing skin in the Fundrise investing game. What's the opposite of pump and dump? Shoot and hold? I'm shooting and holding. Learn from a like-minded community of Reddit investors, Fundrise investors, For example, Intrepid Spartan. Fanboy crush on Ben Miller. I found 0 funny YouTube videos about that to link to. Yeah, so true, I remember looking. I don't follow sports, practice religion, or bother much with politics, although it has been bothering me more lately. So there is a Fundrise-shaped hole in my life that Ben Miller is standing in. He's situated in that hole in the same posture that Leonardo's Vitruvian Man is standing in, similarly waving his arms and all because he doesn't want to be filling that hole. But there he is. Get comfortable, Ben. For those of you who don't know what the Vitruvian Man looks like, it's the guy who there's like this geometric, mathematical beauty to the human body and I guess all of nature. And, he's drawn and he's kind of doing like that. So I imagine there's Ben in the whole of my life doing that. Aha. Insert laughter here. All my friends, family, and foes know that I won't shut the duck up about Fundrise. I estimate I've heard Ben Miller speak for 40+ hours. What is that, double, triple now? I don't know. I've read everything Ben has written on Reddit, I think. It's linked in FundriseInvestors. I thought for a while that I would create a repository of information. I reached out to the moderator on the Fundrise sub that I won't mention. I'm mentioning it. And in Reddit, and I was like, hey, you want me to help create some sort of organized place of all the things Ben Miller has written in this sub of yours? I got ignored, which is fine, whatever. I'm sure the guy has a day job. I assume it's a guy. And the more I thought about how I would do that, the more I realized you just need to go to Ben's Reddit. It's all there. Search for words. All I get it, but all you people, all you investors, all you curious Fundrise potential fans who want to be spoon-fed information, go to Ben Miller's Reddit account. Search for the word you're looking for. Go to the Fundrise chatbot. Search for the word you're looking for. Whoever's going to write the answer to your question on Reddit isn't going to write it better than the CEO. And the chatbot just keeps getting better. I hate chatbots. Fundrises is pretty good. And it keeps getting better. I've been sick of, I'm trying not to be negative here, but it gets exhausting answering the same questions over and over again. And so I use the chatbot as a shortcut, and it works. And it's written better than I can write it. And you'll enjoy reading the answer more than whatever me or somebody smarter than me or writes better than me can write. Where was I? I've consumed every episode of Onward at least once. That's the Fundrise podcast. True to this day. Such a good podcast. I've written a kind of a mini manifesto about Onward. I put personal details about my private life in there just to pique people's interest, to get them to read it so that they discover Onward. Not to brag, I'm bragging, but reposting my Onward, what am I calling it? Mega thread on LinkedIn has like 95,000 impressions. Does that matter? No, but it's something to track. What is that called? Metrics that matter? So I don't have anything else to go on, so I pay attention to it. I've consumed every episode of Onward at least once. His TED Talk and every interview with Ben Miller on the interwebs I can find. I believe this is the most current interview, and it's terrific, other than the host's terrible audio quality. It's called Fident Capital Offshore Podcast. In the same vein as how I've learned from Joseph Carlson so many good investing principles that the great investors have been teaching for ages. From Ben, I've learned volumes about commercial real estate, leadership, customer service, private equity, venture capital, quantum physics, go figure. That's the most different episode of Onward I've heard. I can't remember the author's name, but her book is, I think, called Trespassing on Einstein's Lawn. I haven't read it, but Ben and the author discuss it, and I was torn because why do I listen to Onward? It's not investing advice, right? Oh, by the way, none of this is investment advice, right? But when Ben speaks, I listen, and why? Dollars and cents are at stake, people. For me, anyway. In the same vein as how I've learned from Joseph so many good investing principles that the great investors have been teaching for ages. Oh yeah. Quantum physics, go figure. Macro business cyclicality, the savings and loan crisis. Boy, was that a technical episode. Interest rate dynamics, ambition, grit, and on and on. Get comfortable with Vitruvian Ben. Obviously, I know Ben has a tremendous team behind him. Ben is Hobbes's Fundrise Leviathan. Look it up, people. It's kind of a cool analogy. To say I have conviction in what Fundrise has already achieved, is working to achieve this year, and I believe will achieve for years to come, is comparable to saying that Donald Trump has conviction in his hair stylist, in air quotes. Anyone remember when David Letterman used to show obstructed pictures of hair to guests and ask them if it's Trump or monkey? I linked to that video. Shout out to Rocky. We used to watch that in high school. Trump or monkey? Is it Trump or monkey? Welcome everyone to 40 days into Q4 2023. For those who've read the Fundrise Q3 letter to investors, what do you think? For those who haven't, read it here. Though I don't comment on it, here for your convenience is a link to the mid-Q4 Fundrise market commentary. I just had a thought that I should have said at the beginning of this video that nobody's going to watch. If this turns into a second episode or a third episode, I would love to have a two-way conversation with somebody else who is a Fundrise fan or just became a Fundrise account holder. Fundrise account holder. Investor is on the platform. Somebody who's thinking about it. Somebody I referred. Oh, not to brag. I'm bragging. By the way, that's an Animal Spirits reference. Ben Carlson. Shout out to Ben Carlson and Michael Batnick, both who have blocked me on LinkedIn because they're tired of me bothering them to get Ben Miller on their podcast. I get sick and tired of listening to them interview forgive my fanaticism, people. One of their episodes, this really set me off. I posted about it on LinkedIn and Twitter, probably read it too. They interviewed somebody about direct to investor venture capital investing. For the Cashmere Fund, I refer to it repeatedly, obnoxiously as the Gopher Fund, because get out of here with that noise. 5,000 investors in this fund. If you look at the names of the fund, the companies in the fund, no disrespect, you never heard of them. Stonks, no joke, S-T-O-N-K-S. Stonks is one of the companies in the fund. To be honest with you, I looked into it and it sounds pretty cool. But grapefruit something. Anyway, they invest, and I'm sure this guy's very successful. He sounded smart and successful. Lives in Boulder, Colorado, I believe. Shout out to Boulder. And shout out to University of Colorado Boulder, alma mater, grad school. I nearly failed my exit interview, whatever it's called, for my oral board God, that was a low point for me. Woo! They did not want to pass me, and I think they had to. I think they had to change how they run the program because I did so horrible during my oral interview. Anyway, transparency, fam. Go for a fund. Are you shitting me? Sorry for the profanity. When we've got the guy who invented, the guy and his team who invented direct to investing, private investment in real estate, private credit, and venture capital with 2 million, I think it's users on the Fundrise platform. What are we at? 400,000, 500,000? Can't wait to see the new Fundrise annual report to see how many. I'm not exactly sure about splitting the hairs between users and investors. I'm guessing it's the difference between people who download the app and people with a certain amount of money on the app, or at least have logged in a certain number of times. Anyway, hell of a lot more than 5,000 people. Go for a Fund has a minimum investment of, I think it's $500. What's Fundrise's? 10. Go for a Fund has biannual liquidity. Twice a year you can do it. Fundrise has quarterly, 4 times a year. Hello? Think people are going to care about that? Animal Spirits, Ben Carlson and Michael Batnick. Shout out to Ritholtz Wealth Management. What else can I remember about the Go for a Fund? They're not the industry standard. What are you doing? Who is going to be a better guest than the guy who invented the product that you are putting on display to professional financial advisors and wealth managers and retail investors? Let's go. Get Ben on the podcast. Anyway, anybody wants to talk to me, have an interview, pick my brain, I would love, reach out to me, DM me. Let's do it. Here's what I think. Remember, this was written November the 9th, 2023. Where did I get these ideas? Ben Miller, Fundrise. Rates higher for longer means real estate pricing lower for longer while being shored up by housing demand outpacing supply. Ben Miller says getting the details for a deal correct doesn't matter if you have the macro wrong. As a small town, small time landlord, boy, do I know that this is right. And boy, did I get it wrong. But, you know, we're doing okay. I believe Fundrise got the macro and the deal details correct for their properties, which are multifamily and build for rent single family, plus industrial, all in the Sun Belt. However, I feel both too late and too early to invest more into the Fundrise growth real estate funds, even though I tossed 10 grand into the Heartland E-REIT just before close of business Q3. That decision, that was Q3 23. That decision was part DCAing, dollar cost averaging, and part experiment. Lesson learned and more to follow below. Man, was that a good call on my part. If I weren't so jacked and tan, I would pat myself on the back. The Opportunistic Credit Fund, OCF, Innovation Fund, IF, and IPO, lowercase I, Internet Public Offering people, invest in Fundrise. All seem more promising to me today than growth real estate funds. Good call. I'm excited by the opportunity to, this is the next bullet. I'm excited by the opportunity to own pieces of the private technology and specifically artificial intelligence companies. Here, what I'm reading to you right now is what I've been posting as a dadgum Nostradamus. I'm excited by the opportunity to own pieces of the private technology and specifically AI companies, 39 minutes in, that Fundrise is able to invest in by capitalizing on their shrewd ability to hone business relationships. How wonderful would it be, and how wonderful has it been over the past quarter, if investing in the Innovation Fund today proved to be as lucrative as it was to invest in the best Fundrise growth funds prior to 2020. I think 2021 showed a lot of 40% growth in some of the e-REITs and funds, real estate growth funds. Look at the graph, people. Check it out. Learn from it. I'm spoon feeding you information, which helps me because, frankly, doing the work for all of you benefits me. See graph 1 below. This setup is why I'm passionate about Fundrise. I know from listening to Ben Miller, just as with Joseph Carlson, that he long ago understood investing far better than I ever will. Can't pound the table loudly enough on that. I'm comfortable delegating to Fundrise the responsibility for deciding which private companies and commercial real estate deals to pursue. Ben is chairing a small private tech company that utilizes the services of some of the same small private tech companies that Fundrise invests in. Game, recognize, game. Importantly, he's able to make those investments because of the goodwill he and the Fundrise team have earned from their well-deserved strong brand. I summarize this brand as fiscally conservative, possessing a mature and disciplined investing strategy, and behaving as good stewards while pursuing grand ambitions they may achieve over time based on their track record as the caterpillar, not the butterfly. In each one of those little analogies there, I link to the origin of those. Some of them are idioms, fables. Check them out if you don't know what it means to just read them by description. For example, the Fundrise is the fire ant, not the grasshopper. If you don't know the origin of that, I link to the origin. What Fundrise has accomplished is close enough to impossible. I believe they will continue achieving what us mere mortals think is nearly impossible. I listened to the Animal Spirits podcast because Ben had them on Onward. I thought it was them. He didn't have Michael Batnick on. He had Ben Carlson. I think it's episode number 7-ish. What are we up to? 43 episodes of Onward. Recently, I heard their episode, they being Ben Carlson and Michael Batnick on Animal Spirits, The State of Venture Capital with Samir Kaji, forgive my pronunciation. He's the CEO and co-founder of Allocate, where it was conveyed that venture capital investment is wholly dependent on the quality of the business relationships, not the availability of capital. I'm bullish on the culture built by Ben and his cohort as it relates to the success of the Innovation Fund. I believe that culture/brand will manifest more venture capital investment in desirable private companies because of the relationships Fundrise builds, combined with Fundrise's holistic investment philosophy. See above mixed metaphors. I'm so funny. Last bullet here in my manifesto. I'm getting tired of reading this, people. I know you're getting tired of listening to it, but what else am I going to talk about? Unrelated to the Q3 letter, I love me some opportunistic credit fund. Boy, is that still true today. It's the investment that excites me the most right meow. Shout out to Roaring Kitty. Fundrise or not. Imagine this hypothetical, he says sarcastically. Say one were to cash out refinance $390,000 of rental property debt at a WACC, weighted average cost of capital, of 6.7%, locked for 30 years with the opportunity to refinance lower if Jerome Powell, chairman of the Federal Reserve, Trade Committee, Federal Reserve, Jay Powell, chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jesus. If Jay Powell ever decides that stagnation, deflation is more concerning than inflation, we're getting close to that. Maybe we're on the fence. Is it a soft landing? Is the plane landed? Are we still flying? One could invest within opportunistic credit fund, $308,000 of that $343,000 cashed out derived from financing $390,000 of debt to earn $109.70 a day dividend accrual while paying about $71.59 per day interest on mortgage debt in year one. You got a delta there. Leveraging debt to to earn return after taxes, not huge, but something to build on, something that could become sustainable. And it has been. 2 years later, almost to the day. 2 years almost to the day. Fundrise, shout out to Opportunistic Credit Fund having a 2-year birthday coming up. Both sides of this financial equation improve over time while rent growth improves net operating income. Net operating income doesn't improve if you've got a renter who smokes cigarettes in your house and you have to load up a ton of debt to renovate this nightmare of a house. Anyway, I can see light at the end of the tunnel, don't worry. Each quarter, when OCF dividends are reinvested, the daily dividend accrual rate increases. DRIP, fam, D-R-I-P. Each year, mortgage interest paid decreases. Investing a minimum of $308,000 in OCF ensures each dividend distribution exceeds the OCF required minimum $10K for additional investment, thereby preventing the necessity for new non-OCF distributed capital for OCF reinvestment. I realize that's a bit clunky. I don't expect anybody to really follow that. What I was trying to say is OCF becomes sustainable. I don't have to find new capital to reinvest in OCF because it's spitting off $10,000 plus dividends, and the minimum for reinvestment is $10K. I got a lot to say about OCF that I won't get into now. Maybe that could be another video. But it's been great. After making the $308,000 OCF reinvestment, $35,000 of cashed out equity remains to invest in something less income oriented and possibly returning greater than 13% per year. What with Fundrise has returned more than 13% per year in the past 2 years? I think the answer is nothing, unless you bought low and sold high quickly, and you were able to reinvest your OCF, other than OCF, right? So the Fundrise Innovation Fund last year, from memory, so this is going to be ballpark accurate, net investor returns were something like 12.81% 2024. So the average of all you guys who bought and sold and held Fundrise Innovation Fund was a 12.81% return, which is higher than the fund returned, which I think goes towards calculating what an investment on January the 1st turned out returning on December the 31st. It's something like that. Buying and selling in the fund is going to create different investor net returns than the fund returns a constantly held investment for the full year. Something like that is why there's a difference. Anyway, the point is OCF has been the most attractive investment for Fundrise over the past 2 years. I think that's Bible. Check me on that. See graph 2 below for the 3 growth E-REITs. I wrote E-REIT funds. How funny. That's before I understood the difference between an E-REIT and a fund. That have returned greater than 13% average annual percent return. Read the graph description, which I just stumbled through trying to describe, since fund inception. Other considerations for employing the 35K within Fundrise are the Innovation Fund, lowercase IPO, and I call it the Heartless E-REIT. And I'm not going to keep reading all this. I get into some very technical, not like to try and sound impressive, but like nitty-gritty details of I got some OCF realities, assumptions, and 2 scenarios. I'm not going to read you through all those scenarios. What are we down to? 0 people listening to this? It's not live, but I know. I'll read this. Fundrise is my first choice for prudent diversification away from individual properties, I'm sitting in one, and public equities. Still love my stocks. Still follow Joseph Carlson very closely. The man knows what he's doing. My Q4 23 Fundrise distributed dividend circa 10 January 24 from all funds will be about 9.4K. What are they today? We're approaching 12,000. Did we exceed 12,000? I can't remember. Each following quarter until OCF wind down, which is in about 3 to 5 years if the 2 remaining 1-year option years get exercised, I guess is the word. My OCF investment alone should distribute 10,000 per quarter or 40,000 per year. It is. Every 3 months, Fundrise presents me with a terrific problem. This is a good problem. Do I reinvest these dividends back into Fundrise, or is there a more attractive opportunity in public equities? For example, Meta at 88. Woo! We're 50 minutes in, and boy, could I talk for 50 minutes on Meta at 88. Shout out to Joseph Carlson. I should have listened to him. He didn't buy. That's what threw me off. But he said he ticked the bottom on it. I'll make those decisions based on what I continue learning from Ben and Joseph and Sven et al. And others. I'm so smart, right? Graph 1, graph 2. Boy, have these graphs changed. And I'm proud of them. They've gotten a lot better. They're a lot easier to read. Read them. Learn from them. Gosh, this just keeps going on. I understand why you guys complain so much about it. I got my Fundrise wish list. I was carrying that. I want Fundrise to pay attention to it. Man, I'm a fan, you know. My aunt is a fanatical fan for the Miami Dolphins. She flies around the country to meet strangers who she knows from the internet, to be on radio talk shows about football. I recently met her. Went to a college-ish football game. It's called the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. And I couch surfed in her house for a while after I got out of the Navy. After the Navy got me out of the Navy. Wasn't my decision, but you know, I wouldn't change it. And I would listen to her, listen to these radio shows talking about football, and call in and talk about football. And I thought she was crazy. And she is. And guess what? Look what I'm doing. It's crazy. And I get it. I get it. So I put my wish list out there. Just like my aunt has an opinion on who's the quarterback and the O-line and the coaches and all that. Fans fan, fam. So let's wrap this up. 52 minutes in. Video 1. I guess I'm going to post this. Well, am I going to keep doing this? Or is somebody who's polished going to get in here and do this so that I can step back and just watch? Do I have to keep, I don't know, driving the train? Somebody better than me can do this. Somebody who's more polished, somebody who's doesn't have a lisp and wants to get a haircut and wants to shave and make content. I don't want to make content, but I do want Fundrise to thrive. I do want to promote Fundrise transparently and sing their praises because they deserve them, guys. I mean, am I going to get rich from this? I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised. These are top-notch people doing what, as far as I can tell, they're passionate about. And they're damn good at it. And I'm riding their coattails. I'm here for it. I love it. Gets me fired up. And it makes me money. Hello? What more do you need to know? And I'm showing you how much money it's making me. How it's making me money. Why I make the decisions I make. There is no question that you can ask that you can't answer yourself about my portfolio in Fundrise from looking at my posts. Do you want me to spoon feed you the information? I will, but I don't want to. Look it up yourself. Learn. Let's talk about it online. I'd get fired up about that. It'd be much cooler to talk about it and spoon feed individual questions. Anyway, let's wrap this up. 55 minutes in. Are we going to do this again? Let's see. Do I have a cool thing to say in closing? I haven't come up with that yet. I'm out.